This is my commentary, which is going with my performance of T.S. Eliot's The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. So I thought I'd start by telling you a bit about my personal connection to this poem, and then what I see as the main ideas in the poem and how I tried to emphasize those ideas and the way the poem is constructed in my performance. So I first encountered The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock when I was in year 11 doing literature. And I think this is my favourite poem because this is the first one which truly struck a chord with me, and where the ideas in the poem, I got it and it resonated with me personally because it's very much a young man's poem, T.S. Eliot's The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. It's about a young guy who overthinks things, who struggles to express himself to people around him, who finds himself feeling isolated and frustrated, which is a bit of a sad indictment, but there you are. So the ideas in this poem. The Love Song of J. Alfred is what we call a modernist poem. So it belongs in a genre of poetry called literary modernism, which flourished in the early 1900s. It's literary modernism is sort of at an interesting point in Western culture. We're seeing like a lot of the ideas about society being challenged. Things were seen as quite staid and they needed to be shaken up. There's this need to innovate in form and breaking down of conventions of genre. There's also this, which echoes this idea of breakdown in society and people feeling more isolated by the modern world. So the Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock is a dramatic monologue, if you like, spoken from the protagonist's point of view. And it's articulating all of these ideas that he has about isolation, being frustrated, being repressed, trying to make a decision but then overthinking it, and just feeling frustrated and caught and trapped in this sort of ongoing, almost never-ending cycle. And towards the end of the poem, he sees himself as an old man, or at least that's how I read it. It's him thinking of himself as an old person and recognizing that he has never made the decision or has never acted on anything really in his life. So I tried to bring that out in my poem. I tried to emphasize lines that sort of, and build up this growing sense of anxiety and frustration through the stanzas in the middle, which were, I have known them all already, because they all end at this question, how should I presume? Like, what should I do about this? There's this sense of that he knows that he should be trying to take some sort of action, but he can't be definite about it, so he can't do anything. And I really tried to hammer the line. It is impossible to say just what I mean. I mean, it's possible. You could read that line much more casually, and there are some readings out there that do, but I really wanted to emphasize the frustration of Prufrock in that moment. The way the poem is constructed, there's a lot of rhyme, but there's very irregular sort of line length throughout the whole thing, which sort of regulates the flow. I've tried to sort of emphasize the meditative sort of natures of the first stanzas, where we're quite calm and there's lots of, the rhyme acts much more soothingly there, I feel. And I tried to sort of like hammer on the alliteration in certain parts of the poem as well, and emphasize that in my reading, particularly I'm thinking of the stanza that has, where he sort of tries to describe this, the yellow smoke using the imagery of a cat, and we've got this lingered, let fall, all that sort of the L sound, which also creates quite a soothing sort of motion. It's quite hard to sort of say what he's trying to articulate there. I read that stanza as him trying to almost tell a story which would explain something to a listener, but just completely in the way of this poem. It's him trying to articulate something, but never quite getting his point across, and that's what he that's an ultimate fear of his, of being unable to be understood. I guess the other main sort of technique that drives this poem is this assortment of almost random sort of images that he's trying to use. So there's the fog in the second big stanza. We've got in the room the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. So there's this idea of like these women being more cultured than he is, I think. And yeah, there's the imagery where he sort of like, after the arms paragraph, which is about I've known the arms already, known them all, and he's talking about what he's really talking about there is women and his inability to sort of make a move romantically, and it sort of ends with should I say I've gone at dusk among in the streets among and watched the smoke that rises from the pipes in lonely men leaning out of windows in shirt sleeves or something like that. And so he's using these images to try to illustrate a point, but it always falls short for him, and it always finds himself frustrated. So that's why I tried to sort of mime that out with the head shake after that stanza, sort of showing that, he's just unable to articulate what he wants to say, and he realizes that that's a particularly silly way of making a point, and so he says, I should have been a pair of ragged claws scuttling across the floors of silent sea, to sort of show that he should have been a crab, like he's not fit for human society. So those are the main sort of images and techniques. I guess in conclusion, to bring it back to my performance, what I was trying to emphasize with the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock was the protagonist's frustration, isolation, and inability to connect despite all of this verboseness in the poem and his like constant sort of talking. It ultimately signifies nothing for him because there's no meaning to it all.